Welcome back. So, what do you think? Is it worth it to do such bold actions as they describe to get attention? Then what? That's a big question. Back then in the 80s and 90s, we tried to get a lot of attention because that would get the population upset, and the population as a whole would put pressure on the politicians to get the change we want. And sometimes that worked. So here's some footnotes for you. Gary Francione mentioned that we are terrorists to them. Now, back in the 1980s, the FBI had Earth First at the top of its list of domestic terrorists, if you can believe that. It'll seem particularly ridiculous after you watch the next 3 music tracks, especially the last one. We don't really come across as terrorists, and we never did. You've seen in this video basically the most radical rhetoric of our movement. That was Judy Berry who said revolution is not a dinner party. And you may have noticed that Daryl moved my microphone. That was my microphone on the little, the desktop microphone stand, which is the one I'm using right now, by the way. 30 years later, I still have it. Yeah, Daryl worked with me a lot on the videos that I shot, and that was the last one, that workshop that I shot before Judy and Daryl were bombed. And I could have very easily been in that car. The 3 of us were the main organizers at that time for the Headwaters Forest movement. And I happened to be in Oakland working on editing the Redwood Summer video, so I wasn't in the car when the bomb blew up. But that's what Gary was referring to. They were certainly labeling us as terrorists, very much like Trump is calling the media enemy of the people. Also, Dave Foreman, the most famous of the co-founders of Earth First, had been set up with a COINTELPRO by the FBI and been arrested with 4 other people about 8 months earlier. In 1989, and the FBI revealed that they had been waging a $2 million COINTELPRO against Earth First in 3 states. Gary also mentioned ALF, which is the Animal Liberation Front, and that was coming together around the same time. During the 2 years prior to that, a lot of the people who were part of the Earth First Navy or Sea Shepherd Conservation Society culture came up with the idea of liberating animals from their cages, mostly in test labs. And so ALF was coming around at that time. And then at the end, Bobcat mentioned the Hatfield Rider. The Hatfield Rider was put together by Senator Mark Hatfield and Senator Adams from Oregon and Washington, which, because we were winning our court cases to stop illegal logging, they passed a rider to an appropriations bill that basically decreed that all environmental laws had been met, even though they hadn't. They just declared that they were met, taking away our right to sue. So that's why Bobcat was saying we were upholding the law when we went out to do our direct actions. And then Paul Watson had mentioned earlier, why do we tolerate so much? It's really quite incredible in this era of Trump and the Republicans empowering him and the Democrats sitting back and doing basically nothing about it, that we're doing basically nothing about it. I mean, consider the way prior Americans reacted to the American Revolution. A stamp tax, a lack of representation. Well, we certainly have a lack of representation now, so they decided we needed a violent revolution, and we got a country out of it. And then Paul Watson had mentioned malathion, people shooting helicopters. But we tolerate things like napalm in Vietnam, or the Vietnam War, where we killed about 3 or 4 million people. And then again, George Bush and the Republicans and Pelosi leading the Democrats waged the war against Iraq, which has killed over 1 million people now. And these people Republicans and Democrats kept us on fossil fuels to the point where the collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet is now unstoppable, and that means 20 feet of sea level rise in the coming decades is unstoppable. We tolerate all of that. Why? Why do you tolerate it? Are you willing to do direct action? Are you really willing to do what it takes to destroy the equipment that is destroying the world? Or are you just going to play the politics game? Every 2 years, see which celebrity politicians you like the best. Well, that's all I'm going to say about the Watson workshop. Coming up next are 3 musical tracks. The first 2 are from the 1990 Gravelly Range, Montana Round River Rendezvous, and the last one is from the 1993 Mount Graham Rendezvous. Dana Lyons, Bill Oliver, and Glen Waldeck the previous year had gone on an Alaska Keep It Wild tour of that state. And you can see that Dana had the T-shirt for that tour on when he was singing the Sea Shepherd song. And they sang this song called Call Me the Whale, which is one of my favorites. I learned to sing it. In fact, if you watch my next video, I believe I sing it. In a talk I gave about the climate crisis and about our activism. Also, as you will note, because I put titles in there was a Wise Use Movement spy named Barry Clausen, who was still undercover in our movement at that time, but would soon become exposed. And he walks into the background and starts taking pictures of the audience, which is kind of creepy. And also Karen Wood and I kind of mingle backstage behind the musicians. And then the last track is Dana Lyons and Lone Wolf Circles, who now goes by Jesse Wolf Hardin. And they put music to a very famous, legendary story, the Greenfire story, by Aldo Leopold from his A Sand County Almanac book. And it's very much about developing empathy for other creatures. And so Wolf asks, Wolf says that it's not the first place where he lives in the Gila, it's not the first place he'd kill for, but it's the first place he'd die for. And it's because he's feeling the suffering of the land. So that brings us back to biocentrism. And also in that video, very early on, suddenly the performers are blocked out by the dancers. And so I had to make a decision, since my camera was on a tripod and I had that cord coming out of it and everything was set up. I couldn't really move around, so I just decided to make the dancers the story of that video. And fortunately, I had really good sound that day. And the dancers were really fun, and a lot of my friends, and a couple of them are no longer with us. So I hope a lot of you who are old-time Earth Firsters enjoy seeing your friends. It's really quite wonderful. So I guess that's about it. I would like to make a pitch for you to help with this project, as we've got right down there. Oops. Yeah. If you like this episode, or like any episode, I ask if you can contribute $1 for that. Of course, you can contribute more. I do have a lot of expenses. I have to pay $170 a month just for the broadband to get this to you without it breaking up. And I've had a bunch of computer problems which have destroyed my ability to edit videos on my computer. And so I've had other hardware expenses I've had to pay for. So I could really use about $500 right now. So if you can contribute $1 to $500, that would be fantastic. And we'll keep this program going as long as I can. And we'll keep archiving this great old Earth First footage that you're about to see. I've got so much more of it. And I was able to color correct it and tweak the sound. And with your contribution, I can do more to restore this footage, because a lot of it has actually deteriorated and is not really watchable at all anymore. And it's been 30 years. So I can really use your help now to get this stuff preserved while it's still playable. So I think the bottom line here is, are you willing to take moral responsibility to do what has to be done to save our planet, to save our culture, save humanity and all of the other species? That is really the question that all of these people are asking. It's about deciding to do activism that works, that makes a difference, that does get the job done. And that's really all we're trying to do. We just realized that the traditional ways of doing politics in America wasn't working. The Democrats and the Republicans have both sold us out. 20 feet of sea level rise is coming because of them. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to get the nuclear power plants on the coast cleared away before they melt down and we have 100 Fukushimas? I am. I'm trying to do that. And I hope you'll tune in to the next video, which is my talk in Monterey County a year ago about how the climate crisis has got to become our top national security threat that we deal with. So thank you very much for watching this show. So now, as we do at our roadshow events, we follow the talk with a lot of great music about the situations that we're facing and how we feel about it. So enjoy Bill Oliver, Glen Waldeck, Dana Lyons, and Lone Wolf Circles, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Earth first!
Where the hell are the Kachinas anyway? In bed. In bed. All right, Paul, thank you much. Okay, well, we got time for 20 more songs. As long as we don't babble on in between too long. Babble on? Speaking of babbling. All right, man. Where is she? Oh, there she is. There's everybody the pinky. Well, I don't know if they're ready for Pinky or not. Pinky had a tough night.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the 1990 Rendezvous. I had fun at that sock hop last night. A lot of fun. A little bit of mud on my face, but hey. We got a basket full of bastards here we'd like to bring on out here. As soon as Bill's ready. I learned one thing here. And that's how to please a crowd. That's right. When you least expect it, a little stuffed furry buddy's gonna walk up to you and moon you.
Ah, it's you. There she goes. Pinky, take a break. We met Pinky at a yard sale. We got a Pinky and a basket of bastards with her. They're a lot of fun. We only could bring 3 of the bastards to the rendezvous. They all wanted to come, but
safety check.
Oh, thanks. All right. What's that mean? No more tuning! No more tuning! Well, Dana. Join us. All right. As we went up when we went up to Alaska, one of our members, I believe it was Heidi Heidi smuggled aboard a set of lyrics on the ferry boat. As we went up, there were 1,000 passengers on the good ship Columbia and 6 folk singers. We had them surrounded, and we learned a song that evening looking out over the waters of the inland passage, and we sang this to the whales out there that night. It's a song by Paul Kaplan of New York City, who sings this song on the sloop Clearwater up down the Hudson River. Hey, and whaling songs have been tough to update. The whaling song has filled the great niche in folklore. It's just not the same as it used to be. Whaling, it's not the hands-on deal it used to be. And whaling songs, reflectors have been hard to find, but Paul Kaplan has helped us out here on this quite a bit. Call me the whale, for that's what I am. and what I aim to be. You may call yourselves the kings of the land, but I reign over the sea, brave boys. But I reign over the sea. Well, you came after me with your matchstick boats and your harpoons, boys, for the kill. When I looked you in the eye, I never saw you cry, but I know I gave you a chill, brave boys. I know I gave you a chill. And I never really meant you any harm, brave boys, when I sent you to the bottom with my tail. I was only trying to show you that you should have stayed at home instead of on the ocean chasing whales, brave boys, instead of on the ocean chasing whales. But you never learned your lesson, and more you came, till I ran out of places to hide. When your boats got so big, I could not bring you down. I knew that you had turned the tide, brave boys. I knew that you had turned the tide. And now you hunt me down with your factory ships, and you never even touch me with your hands. In the mornings I am playing with my babies in the waves. In the afternoons I'm packed into your cans, brave boys. In the afternoons I'm packed into your cans. And you've gotten so efficient with your implements of death that now I'm barely alive. But if you treat each other the way you treated me, I think I'm going to survive, brave boys. I think I'm going to survive. Call me the whale, for that's what I am, and what I aim to be. You may call yourselves the kings of the land, but I reign over the sea, brave boys. I reign over the sea. For the image of the logger with his double-sided axe, the noble, living, nature-loving, gentle lumberjack, sometimes gets confused with chainsaws and dozer tracks, and the attitude that God in you can put the mountain back. And I'm stumped, stumped, suck. Someone help me, please. I'm stumped, stumped, suck. It's a mystery to me. I am stumped, stumped, suck. It gets harder to believe that people keep on bringing ancient forests to their knees. Well, in the Sequoia Forest, there's a forest trails of tears, where the monarchs of millennia were felled in 20 years. Walk amongst their ghosts, stand in the shadows that they leave. Then give me one good reason we should turn the other cheek. And I'm stumped, stumped, suck. Oh, someone tell me, please. I am stumped, stumped, suck. It's a mystery to me. I am stumped, stumped, suck. Well, it's harder to believe that people keep on bringing ancient forests to their knees. Down in Louisiana, where the wilderness is swamp, they hit the mighty cypress and they left the swamp of stumps. They built gigantic platforms, they cut for 30 days. There was no John Muir in a Piro as they floated them away. They're all gone. Stump, stump, stump. Someone help me, please. Stump, stump, stump. It's a mystery to me. I am stumped, stumped, stumped. It gets harder to believe people keep on bringing ancient forests to their knees. Jobs, jobs, jobs are the mill workers' demands, and logs, logs, logs as they ship them to Japan. Reminds me of the problems of the ones that traded slaves. I'm sorry about your jobs, but it's these forests we must save. And we're Stumps, Stumps, Stumps. Oh, someone help me please. Stumps, Stumps. It's a mystery to me. I am Stumps. Oh, I cannot believe that people keep on bringing ancient forests to their knees. Yes, people keep on bringing ancient forests to their knees. We've got to stop these people bringing these ancient forests to their knees. Woo! All right. That'll do it. Woo! Thanks a lot, folks.
Yeah, do that dancing here at 9,400 feet. The cardiovascular rendezvous.
It's only a 4-hour drive from here to the Gila Wilderness, a place that I call home. You know, this isn't the first place I've been willing to kill over, but it's certainly the first place I've been willing to die for. It's the first place that let me know what it's like to be really indigenous, of the land, of place, belonging, suffering and feeling the passion of the earth. It was right over here, the same place where the so-called great conservationist Aldo Leopold had his great lesson in life. I mean, when Mr. Aldo, hotshot from the Gifford Pinchot School of Deforestry, first landed in the Gila Wilderness, his job was not to protect trees, it was to cut them down, to mark them with blue paint, to be cut, to be cut, to be cut, to be cut, to be cut. But you know, each time he'd go out, the trees would just look just a little bit too much personal. He's starting to take it personally, you know. You can't be in a place like this and not take it personally. You can't be out of the constraints of your mind, out of the boxes that we live in, our fears and our habits, our cities and our cars, without feeling it, without realizing that one's too young, we can't kill the babies. We can't kill the little ones just getting started. We can't kill that one because that's the elder. Thousands of years old, long before Columbus stumbled on these shores. You can't cut the other one because if you look just right against the skylight, you will notice what any little child will tell you if you don't notice. There's a branch twisted up against the sky, looks just like a dragon in the air, telling us to be free, to be free, to be free, like that wolf, like that wolf, like that wolf. And on this most painful of mornings, Aldo Leopold was riding, and there on a spotted pony. And when he got to the top of the Sparrow, he saw tracks upon the ground. They were the tracks of something familiar. They were just a little bit dog-like, but unlike our docile servants, they were running just a little bit wilder than we are. They were running to be free, running to be wild. Now, Aldo had been taught that wolves killed deer and elk, and therefore, if there were no wolves, you imagine there would be deer and elk everywhere. A hunter's paradise, an outdoorsman's paradise. Paradise, paradise. So Aldo did something he would regret for the rest of his life. Aldo Leopold did what any so-called red-blooded American male of his day and age would have done. And he pulled a rifle slowly out of his scabbard. And he pressed it tightly against his shoulder. And he aimed down at the dancing gray shapes below. And slowly, ever so slowly, he pulled. Trigger. And the old wolf tumbled in the mud and snow, her last breaths billowing out like clouds into the morning air. Briefly he rode up and got down upon his knees, and there faced into his eyes and experienced the first time in his life that he was ever able to get out of his intellectual baggage, ever to quit being entertained and an entertainer, ever to be so in the body as to be doing nothing else but to listen and to feel, for once to shut up and feel. And there inside of her eyes, as she panted, as this red blood formed a puddle into the snow, right there in his eyes, he saw a glimmer. And what was that glimmer? Not just the golden fire of life as yet unextinguished, but it was what we called a green fire. The green fire, the last old-growth forests. The green fire, the last undammed rivers. The last unchained brooks and the last unchained people. Still doing what the hell they want. Still living free, still dancing free, still living free. But slowly, ever so slowly, she closed her eyes and that old wolf died. And a little bit of that wolf lived on inside of the heart of Walter Leopold. But also, a little bit of that wolf lives on inside the hearts and souls of the Earth Firsters out here. The only people crazy enough and mean enough and ballsy enough and loving enough to be called my family. And I thank you. Because we too feel it inside. We can feel it rushing up from the ground. We can feel it rising through the soles of our feet. We can feel it rising. Now that's no new age blood rising inside of us. That's a lava rising inside, volcanic lava. Feel as it sucks up from the earth into your legs and up into your lower abdomen. And those all essential lower chakras. Lower chakras. Lower chakras. Feel it now, rising inside of you. Feel it even now, rising inside of you. Rising inside like a howl. Like a howl. Like a howl for the earth. Howl for the earth. Howl for the earth. Howl for the earth. Never stop howling. When she's running, she sounds just a little bit like this. That song to a good friend of mine, a wild wolf that's still not stuck in a zoo. A wild wolf celebrating his birthday. Let's hear it for Rod Coronado on the loose! Rod Coronado on the loose! Woo! Run free, run wild, run him to the ground.
The Norwegian prosecutor sent me a registered letter, delivered personally by U.S. federal marshals. First time I've ever had such service from our government. I tore it open, and at the top it said, indictment. They had charged me with sinking the whale ship Nebrania. They charged me with the destruction of private property. Their total expenses for the damage and additional security were $28 million and rising. They said they reserved the right to collect payment. Said I might have to pay it all back. If they can't traffic in endangered flesh, then they'll try to get their money out of a saboteur's ass. So I thought, $28 million? God damn, well, I'm just a little bit short this week. But that's not bad pay for just one night's work. Well, I've always been one to pay back my debts. So I started writing them a proposal. I began it with, I'm sure we can work out a repayment schedule here. Would you guys accept, say, $10 a year? But then I decided to write them a letter. I addressed it to the Department of Whale Extermination. I enclosed a personalized check to them for $28 million and jotted down this note of explanation. It said, cash it quick, because I'll just have $14 left after it clears, and you know that's just enough to buy another monkey wrench and beers. Then I said sorry for the inconvenience. Next time I'll try to keep my accounts more in the black. You see, when it comes down to our debts to nature, let's always try to make sure we're paying them back.
You look so little down there, Greg.